Welcome to this special edition, rock and roll edition of the Geopolitical series, Special Emergency Geopolitics. Gonna launch it on this 26th of September. But before, do launch, because yours truly is an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist right here. It's 12:10. So it's noon, and we're gonna get that coffee. Oh, I'm gonna make sure that I put it underneath something so it doesn't spill and it doesn't touch the floor. So double trouble, gonna put it on something. So let's go rock and roll. First and foremost, I will to express my gratitude, grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and somebody hugging like they never hugged before today, because that is the main message. LOV, love firefighters, love to the butchers, love to the bakers, love to the nurses, love to the truckers, love to the construction workers. LOV to those daycare workers changing some of those diapers in the daycares. Rock and roll, this independent Aspie got at Asperger's, Rainbow Dragon. I am an Aspie, so I might repeat things 2 times, 3 times, and my obsessive interest. Because Asperger's, people, Aspies like myself, we're not mentally ill, we're just neurodivergent, and we possess what it's called obsessive interest. And my trinity of obsessive interest is geopolitics 24/7, the study, the analysis of geopolitics. And I am an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist. And of course, dancing is my favorite sport. And fitness, but dancing, love to dance. Dancing is my favorite sport, although I do love rock and roll, and of course football, gridiron, and I do love everything boxing and all sports and fitness, even some tennis. I love to enjoy and watching. So I have been on a fitness journey ever since I crossed Canada coast to coast. I encourage all to work out, train, exercise, and it has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice, and have been and will continue to encourage people to mass finance, to of course for us for a public-private partnership via a public-private partnership, blah blah blah. Please, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, MLB, reduce the cost of the tickets, blah blah blah, by 44% for the majority, and of course give some free tickets to the public workers. Gotta salute those athletes, public workers who pick up the garbage every week. The garbage, the compost, the garbage, and the garbage, the compost, and the recycling. I worked on the compost project in 2018. I had a few, like 3 months of employment, and with Asperger's, it's been a difficult role for maintaining of long-term employment due to the fact that I have symptoms which I have to work on, and there's no medication for Asperger's. I'm just have to be aware not to get too close, to reach the personal space we lack. We're very weird in terms of the social interactions, but we have our strengths, and my strengths is geopolitics. I know everything, well, not know everything, because I'm a piece of dust who always has to learn and always have to learn more every day. But geopolitics is my domain, my kingdom, my arena, and today is a geopolitical emergency because the situation is escalating. And before I do commence and begin to do an analysis of today's events, I will to say, because I do, and I have proof of work for this. Back in October 2019, it's going to be 5 years in October since I predicted an international conflagration. Believe it or not, back in October 2019, I predicted an international conflagration, and I am calling now for October, November. Let's go that month of Scorpio. My Scorpio brother, Joe Biden. Scorpio brother, Bill Gates, astrologically related, and Larry Fink, another Scorpio. Doesn't matter, Scorpio, Sagittarius, or Leo, Spices, all the astrological sign. All the leaders of the free world, invite all. And the leaders of the corporations, millionaires, billionaires, please give to charity. Wall Street, if you make a million today, give 10%, which is 100,000, is 10% of a million. Don't be so selfish. I'm not totally selfless. I am financially struggling. Today, I am financially struggling, but I paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, and survived COVID. Had COVID in 2020, and I've been on a fitness journey, since 2017 when I crossed Canada coast to coast. That event in my life made me come out of being depressed and suicidal. Crossing Canada coast to coast, I realized I had an awakening. I said, so big here to true north, strong and free, and that strength and that freedom, true north, strong and free, gotta get some loving with that, because it's not all about fighting. You gotta get some lov with kisses. Kisses got by the trillions, credited from the forgotten goddess, which dances with the brothers. And I did say goddess. I'm also a mystic, and I will to build the forgotten goddess temple, house of the dragon, the second and the third building. I will to build the people's palace. So any construction worker, blah blah blah, willing and living to support, build on the island of the Hawk, blah blah blah. Here, help support, build, and I credit kisses, some massages, some cooking, some rock and roll. I got that rock and roll. That's one of the third obsessive interest. Rock and roll 24/7. I'm an independent artist as well who loves that rock and roll. Always for the truckers, gotta give me some shake. Shake that booty with the boots. Gotta get those firefighters and the farmers we salute. For the truckers, for those chopping up some onions. Gotta get that bacon in it. For the breakfast, for the lunch. Gotta give us serving lunch. Gotta get that washing clean. For the hygiene, you know what I mean. Gotta shake it hard. Do that twerking, working that overtime. Anyways, geopolitics today, and first and foremost, of course, I will to say again, reiterate the fact that, of course, I have predicted in a general manner, not in a detailed manner, the current geopolitical conflagration which is unfolding. In other words, a World War III type of scenario. So, once again, gratitude, grateful mental health, grateful, thankful today. Although financially stressed, I'm open for business 24/7 and invite the leaders of the free world to the mountain, on the mountain where, for years and years I've been going. And please, if you go on Mount Royal, but over there and in the forest, be careful if you go in the forest, because I've experienced it 5 times this year. It wasn't close, but it was like closest was like 44 yards, and the branches tend to fall because the trees are not that healthy, and you get the storms which have increased over the past 5 years, and you get the trees which are not, some of the trees are not that healthy, and you get falling branches. So if you go deep in the forest, as I love to go, and there I've been going for years, and I know that mountain is like my second home. Mount Royal, part of the Three Peak Mountain System. At the heart of the Metropolis Island, there's a mountain called Mount Royal. So I love to go there. I've been loving to go there. It's like my second home, and I do a lot of cleaning in the forest. Please, if you go in the forest, do not leave garbage, trash, and I have hundreds of videos. I do vlogs with my laptop because you got to work with the tools you're given, blah blah blah, and I got a laptop, so I do a lot of work with that, and I'm a YouTuber, but don't get a lot of views, but I do it because I do it. As an Aspie, I got a routine for 7 years. Like I said, the routine has been got a routine, just do geopolitical analysis and review and geopolitical interpretation. And I'm also a philosopher, and of course I love fitness and sports and rock and roll. So that's 24/7, that Trinity 24/7 with yours truly. And my son salutation, that non-sectarian Thelemite here, who has a lot of spiritual questions, but I think I have some solutions to bring to the table, parallel with the trillions of kisses and kisses I got by the trains, and I played that rock and roll. So anyways, encouraging you all to work out, train, exercise, and geopolitical event today special. Gonna get a little bit of that coffee, and I'm gonna meditate on geopolitics. And I gotta say, of course, that I'm calling again the leaders of the free world for the Dragan World Peace Summit, the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is my dream. My dream is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across what I call the North American Civilizational Collective, or the Collective North American Civilizational Complex, or the Complex of North American Collective Civilization. The North America, basically, which includes Canada, US, Mexico, and the islands. And as a philosopher, centrist, pro-labor and love, revolutionary centrism. And my centrism is tied hand in hand with my philosophies that I am a North American, I am a Canadian, I'm a Quebecer, and I can be universal for world peace. But fundamentally, I've lived here, and I'm a Quebecer, Canadian, North American, and this is my home. And I wish world peace, and I wish reconciliation, because it's important to reconcile a lot of different things. To do a lot of healing myself, and then a lot of healing. A lot of trauma and experience. I got a lot of scars, which I discuss openly, and my sexuality, I discuss it openly because I don't want the secret services of China to get espionage, or secret services of Russia to get that espionage, because I'm androgynous pansexual, you get that 50-50, and I love that rock and roll and XYZ, but I'm pretty much what I am. But I'm a great geopolitical analyst and theorist who has predicted what's unfolding now, and my protocols, initiatives are fundamentally for the North American collective, and fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, for a public-private partnership, for a public-private partnership, for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex. And should be excused if I use too much verbose intellectual academic language. I will try to keep it as simple as possible in my explanations, because we Aspies, we have symptoms, and one of the symptom is utilizing too much functionalities and intellectual verbosities which cannot be propositional proponent to the current discussion at hand. And we could use too much philosophical academic terminologies in our interaction, which can be simplified, and I could have weird movements and weird body movements, which I believe it brings some laughter to some people on the mountain. So I don't mind. I give permission people to laugh at me, and XYZ laugh at myself. I sometimes I try to nullify my ego, but I will to be loved, and I will to love, and I will to have financial economic opportunity. I will to play that defense. I always say North Americans unite. We gotta play that defense, just like the hardball ball relating to football, North American gridiron, of course. And I'm a 49er, and then a Raiders, and then a Patriots. Please reduce the cost, NFL, NHL, and artists as well in your venues. It's tough economic, financial times for many since 2020, February, March, of course, due to COVID, and I survived COVID. Prices have increased an overall of about 44%, in average 44.9%. My calculations may be a bit off, a bit, but that's about the major prices increased, which I calculated for the coffee, for eggs, and for a variety of different products, which I bundle up in my economic, social, financial calculation, and I've arrived to the conclusion that the prices have increased for about 44%, and I believe that my DRT theory is the best theory now. Paradoxically, the DRT debt refusion theory, I believe, is the best solution now at this point in time where we are in with the financial situation and the economic situation. I believe the debt refusion theory is the only solution where we are at this point in time, and that's why we have to amalgamate and we have to implement, brothers and sisters. And I'm not without flaws and vices. Some things I am mediocre, at some things I am average, at some things I am so. Not so when it comes to geopolitics. Geopolitics is my kingdom, my domain. Sports and fitness as an Aspie, we excel. We are super obsessed about certain topics. And my trinity, geopolitics 24/7, to study the interpretation of geopolitics. Dancing fitness is my favorite sport. And parallel to the dancing and fitness, parallel to the dancing and fitness, parallel to the dancing and fitness is, of course, the rock and roll, the rock and roll. And I do love to rock and roll a little bit. I got something in my eye, something poking in my eye. Doesn't matter, got that sunlight. You get that sunlight. Gotta get that LOV. It's not all about fighting. You gotta have some love. Love is super important. It's not all about fighting, and we gotta have to play that defense. And geopolitics, emergency geopolitical event. I will to say, of course, reiterate that yesterday there was in the news a geopolitical event of which I will meditate and consecrate today as the major event, although there's many of a crisis, but one that is potentially alarming for a new potential conflict is, of course, yesterday there was in the news that China, the People's Republic of China, which is mainland China, the 1.4 billion state known as the People's Republic of China, to be differentiated from the state known as Taiwan, which is known as the Republic of China. So you got the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China. Officially, Taiwan is known as the Republic of China. And their conflicts date back to the 20th century. And my analysis and theorizing back in October 2019 is, of course, I've done an in-depth analysis, and my conclusion, if I can summarize it concisely and simply, is that due to the fact that many nation states, civilizations, and regions had not resolved their conflicts from the 20th century, that is going to be a continuity of the 20th century conflict spilled over into the 21st century. Now, here in the North American collective, in the collective North American civilizational complex, we've made a lot of compromises as North Americans, Quebecers, Canadians on the French language. The great linguistic compromise of the French language, here myself included, with 10 million Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans, and with my black brothers and sisters, 13.3, 13.4%, including my neighbors who are black. And sometimes we have it in ourselves, perhaps myself included, subconsciously we might attribute certain factors and certain attributions to people who are different from us. And sometimes we have subconscious biases. And myself, if I can work on my racism, I put on the table what I put for everybody else: kisses, hugs, a big hug, and money, finance I don't have because I am myself financially struggling. But nonetheless, of course, I am willing to do willing, loving, concrete actions, and we made it this far, North Americans. We got to get with our Mexican brothers and sisters, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, to continue and make new compromises, new meetings. The North American Great Public-Private Partnership call all to the Mount Royal, and the Belvedere Conjure an Act to have new events and new acts, new protocols to be implemented for a public-private partnership. Fundamentally, my dream is for a public-private partnership. So back to geopolitical analysis, because it is an emergency geopolitical analysis that is going to revolve around a new development, which is China, the People's Republic of China, mainland China, having tested ICBM rockets, stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles, for the first time in 44 years, more than 44 years, in more than 44 years, in more than 44 years, in more than 44 years. If the numbers and the information which I've received yesterday and after I evaluated yesterday was that March 1980, March 1980, well, it could be February, March 1980, or even April 1980, that was their last intercontinental ballistic missile test. So the ICBMs can actually travel a long distance, and they were developed, lots of them. The majority of the ICBM rockets were developed during the period known as the Cold War, which is a major geopolitical event. The Cold War lasted more than 44 years, 0.9 months, from about March 1947 till about December 1991. So the exactitude of the exact months and days which it lasted can vary, but most agrees, historians agree and scholars agree that it lasted more than 44 years. More than 44 years from 1947, 1991, 1947, 1991. March 1947, some say 1946. The, I say March 1947, March 1947 till December 1991. So it's, I say 44 years and 9 months. The duration of the Cold War was 44 years and 9 months. So for me, I always say a complete statement, although I am willing to make some compromises on the exact numbers, but I am willing to make the statement that it lasted about 44 years and 9 months, the duration of the Cold War, mainly dominated by the USA, known as the, of course, implementing the West and the NATO member countries, and the Warsaw Pact. There was a pact known as the Warsaw Pact, which united the USSR, known as the United Socialist Soviet Republics, which is now known as Russia, with the 15 republics which have dissoluted in 1991, and of course other socialist communist republics, the socialist republics of the East Europe, of which were many, right? Bulgaria, Romania, you had the Eastern Germany, the East Germany was divided until November 1989. For many years, Germany was kind of split, and the Berlin Wall kind of, the East Germans, right? The East German Democratic Republic of East Germany was socialist communist, the GDR. Nonetheless, that is a historical event from the 20th century. So that was my main thesis propositions, and my main analysis was that due to the fact that they haven't resolved many conflicts dating from the 20th century, it's going to be a continuity and a spillover into the 21st century. So that's what we have now. In many ways, in many parallel ways, we have a continuity of those conflicts, which of course date from the 20th century. And it makes me think back more than 7 years ago, and I moved here. I gotta say I'm grateful, although it's small. I cannot have open doors. I cannot have open doors. I cannot have open doors here, but it's better than where I used to live. I used to live in a very moldy place. Very moldy place. It was very moldy. It was very moldy, lots of mold, lots of mold. I remember moving because my memory kind of blacks out. My memories kind of blackouts of memory. I got blackouts of memory. I remember like some trauma and some stuff like that. But I remember moving and I was depressed, suicidal. I started 7 years ago a fitness journey. Because 7 years ago, when I crossed Canada coast to coast, I had a illumination. I had like a wake up call. When I reached Banff, I remember the mountains and Banff, were like, whoa. And then I crossed Canada coast to coast, went to Vancouver, BC, and then I went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I went ocean to ocean Pacific. I said, admire and mask, admire the great Canadian Confederation. My family here, Quebecers, Canadians, coast to coast, and all who come to join us, the greater North American Canadian Quebecer family. I had a wake up call and I said, wow, so many things to do, to live for, so many places I haven't been to, so much food I haven't eaten, so many rock and roll songs, poetry I haven't written. I haven't built the Forgotten Goddess Temple, which I'm willing to build. Forgotten Goddess Temple. Forgotten Goddess Temple. I will to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple here in North America, Hawk Island, Montreal, the House of the Dragon. I need a simple, austere, scarlet, red, crimson, pyramid, and of course I also need to get a little bit of that scarlet concrete, and of course to build the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community like myself, who is pansexual, androgynous. You get that 50-50. Forget about me being part of the LGBTQ community, androgynous, pansexual, loving that BDSM switch. No need to spy on me. Secret services of China, Russia, consent and hygiene, super important, and physical education, and and all things that go coast to coast for security, service and defense, and support the public-private partnership initiative known as the Dragon Army, parallel with the Dancing Goddess Army. Geopolitics, it is an emergency because yesterday there was this ICBM rocket test. It hasn't happened in China since 1980, so more than 44 years. If it's March 1980, that means 44 years and about 9 months. 44 years and 9 months, 44 years and maybe 10 months, maybe close to 45 years, close to 45, let's say. In more than 44 years, China has not tested an ICBM rocket. So that begs to questions, right? Because of course there's the potential of an escalation of a conflict between the People's Republic of China and Taiwan, the island known as Taiwan, which is known as the People's Republic of China, and their conflict dates back to the 20th century. Now, as a geopolitical analyst and theorist, you have to keep in mind that as it doesn't really matter, it's not important what position I take in the matters external to the North American civilizational complex. Yes, I can call for a peaceful resolution of both parties and all citizens and all world leaders to come to the mountain, Mount Royal, to discuss my visions and my protocols for a new world order. But nonetheless, I remain a Quebecer, Canadian, North American with who has the propositions and the idea for a North American collective defense or a public-private partnership for the defense, security, and service first and foremost, and extending it from NORAD, North American Complex, to NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization member countries, which is a defensive military alliance within the NATO complex, but confined merely to a defensive rebuilding of the infrastructure and healing on the North American. We got a lot of healing, a lot of rebirth to do myself. It's been on a 7 year journey, and I'm still financially stressed. I've learned to accept my neurodivergence, my difference, and that I'm neurodivergent, and Asperger's is not a mental illness because there's no medication. I have to constantly work on my symptoms and constantly work on my symptoms and be aware of my own differences. And if I can work on some things, I and Aspies, usually we do not verbally console, but we will offer some concrete action in terms of the compassion. We will offer something. If you say you're sore, we're gonna offer a massage, or if you're hungry, we're gonna offer food, or even in other matters, more adult matters, where we, of course, being rainbow, I feel my friend, and friends with benefits only now from now on, friends with benefits only from now, 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 pledge your allegiance. But nonetheless, consent and hygiene. Consent is super important. Hygiene, and my philosophy is the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose, and sometimes we have to liberate, ourselves. And I always say, as a member of the LGBTQ community, that of course, as much as I love football, dancing is my favorite sport. That that there's many in the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, and National Basketball Association, MLB, who are bisexual or gay, but there is only one, and who's playing in all the four sports leagues. There's only one, Colin Lassie, was actively open to play in the NFL. But that's another matter. I'm not going to diverge. But geopolitics. So the test, ICBM test with the rocket, was quite something which, of course, was kind of peculiar in the terms of the peculiarities that it was a test. And of course, this 44 years ago, or more than 44 years ago, was the last one in 1980. So is China preparing a military strike against Taiwan? That's an open question, but it is a possibility due to, of course, the positions that Xi Jinping and the leadership known as the Communist Party of China, the Communist Party of China, the Communist Party of China, led by Mao Zedong to power, which has its own ideology. So as much as I can digress and investigate and analyze the politics, internal politics of China and their foreign affairs and the statements of their representatives, it remains, of course, fundamentally that I am a North American Quebecer who salutes the sun and who has scars and scratches sometimes, and has to be aware in the public when I go to the mountain, because I love to go to I make compromises when I leave my underground lair. I'm always aware and conscious. I have to let people know sometimes that I'm neurodivergent and Asperger's, so people have to let me know that I'm speaking too much, or I'm speaking about a topic like geopolitics that they're not interested in necessarily, as I am super obsessed, because we have obsessive interest. So as much as I can discuss China's test of ICBM rockets and speculate, it's necessarily, I can summarize it, is showing that we have also ICBM rockets. Also, the ICBM rockets can travel long distance, can potentially reach internal Canada, perhaps all the way to the prairies, and perhaps all the way to the Midwest, South Dakota, North Dakota, all the way to the Great Lakes, potentially, depending from where the position of the launch is, because there's ICBM rockets which can travel more than 6,500 kilometers. There's ICBM rockets which can travel more than 8,000. And from what we know, of course, there was more in theory. Gotta salute the public workers passing up cleaning the streets. From the North America, changing the garbage and that public sanitation. Gotta salute, send some LOV rock and roll to the public workers. It takes that public and that private, on the road now, the truckers, because I just heard the truck passing to clean, and I'm always meditating how the machine was built, how the machine was constructed, and the brains and the muscle which build it, because my brothers and sisters, civilization is a privilege. That was my thesis back in 2023 as the people's doctor. The thesis known as the privilege of civilization. Civilization is a privilege. Just I meditated the other day to go on the mountain. There's aqueducts which were built inside the mountain and all the way up to have clean, zero pollution and potable water. And of course, here in Hydro Quebec, we're having clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy, electricity, which I'm always eager and excited to discuss with tourists who come here. And tourists, if you come here, know that I'm doing this video without polluting because it's electricity which comes from the hydroelectric dams. Hydro Quebec go, and we need to build more hydroelectric dams. We need to build 7 more in the ASAP for the North American Electric Grid Complex Integrated North American Public-Private Partnership, which we need to work together coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So as much as I can dissect the intentions, it's of course a show of strength, a show of military capability, of course military capability, and of course to solidify the alliance with Russia. Because China and Russia in the past years have moved to solidify their military, economic, political alliance. Russia and China have solidified their military, economic, political alliance. Russia and China in the past years, 3.5 years, they have solidified their military, political alliance greatly internally. You see all the movements or the visits from Putin in Beijing and Xi Jinping going to Moscow and vice versa a few times already in the past 3.5 years. So we have to take note of that. And China, basically, whatever I say, whatever position I take on China, my propositions, initiatives are for the North American civilizational complex, for what I call the Great North American Civilizational Sphere. North America, basically. But as a philosopher, I have these terminologies which can seem a bit on the more sophisticated academic side. But of course, basically, to say North America, and I believe that we are, and I know so, that we North Americans we constitute an emergent civilizational complex, a new civilizational complex, a new, in the new world, right? And of course, we are not divorced from Western civilization, but we are distinct. So North Americans, we collective civilizational complex is an emergent one, but it's not distinct. It's distinct but not divorced. It's distinct from Western civilization but not divorced, because we have social cultural dynamics and the integration of the railways. Got to salute the railway conductors, and of course all the integration of the power grid and sports and culture. And I include Mexico, of course. Mexico's part of North America. Haiti as well. My brothers and sisters, we got to find some solutions as North Americans together, because you see that the ICBM rockets are being tested, and we have nuclear warheads, nuclear possibility of a nuclear conflagration. Putin, of course, another emergency is that Putin now just changed again for like the 5th time in just 5 months the nuclear clause, the clauses for nuclear deterrence. And of course, he's keep on warning that if Ukraine is allowed to use the long-range missiles which some Western countries are providing to Ukraine. And of course, that's a conflict which, of course, also can be stated, as I stated prior, that it can date to the 20th century, because the Ukraine nation state of Ukraine was part of the USSR before, just like Moldova and many countries, the stans, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, the 5 stans, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kaz- Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and 5 stans, right? Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and they were part of the 5 stans, the five part of the USSR. So that dates to the 20th century. But now in the 21st century, we gotta unite coast to coast North Americans. We have to put our differences here, and it's not all about fight, fight, fight. We have to have some love, because hopefully, I know somebody is gonna make some good loving, is gonna hug today, is gonna make some good love today in North America. In Quebec, in Canada, right? Quebec, in Canada, somebody's gonna make that good loving. That's worth carrying a weapon for and being armed also, you know? For love as well. It's not all about fighting, it's not all about money, Wall Street, right? I also say with love, I say, and yes, I love and lust. I can be a very lustful person, and no need to spy on me. My sexuality is a bit on the awkward, between adults, of course, as consenting adults. I like BDSM switch. I like BDSM switch. I like BDSM switch, and I'm androgynous pansexual. But forget that. Back to geopolitics. But just to state that, it's something which sexual liberation is important, and to get second chances and redemption and second chances. And please, to give charity, billionaires, ain't no way that if I would be a billionaire, and before I continue, I want to interject that if I would have 44 billion now, today, 44 billion, 44, if I would have 44 billion now, let's say I worked for 44 years or whatever in finance or whatever, if I would have 44 billion this month, knowing that so many people are financially, economically struggling, in 20, I would go month of December, I would take all of end of November, month of Scorpio going in December, and I would give 10%, which is 4.4 billion, 4.4 billion, 4.4 billion, 4.4 billion, 4.4 billion, 44 billion, 44 billion, 44 billion, 4.4 billion. That's a thousand million. A bin has 9 zeros, so I would take 44 and I would go in Canada and US to give it to the vets, to the homeless, to the vets, to the homeless. I would give charity. I would give 44,718 to different people, so it would be thousands of people which I would be able to help. I'll give a check. See, this is your second chance. I don't know how you're in this position. You suffered, you struggled, you ended up here. This is your second chance. This is your second chance, and I know I got my second chance. I always say if I would have stayed where I used to live, I would have been probably dead or in jail. If I would have stayed where I used to live, I would probably been dead or in jail. If I would have stayed where I used to live, I always said I would have probably been dead or in jail, whatever the case may be. But back to geopolitics, it's something that we gotta be aware of. That today is the international conflagrations which are occurring now worldwide, and of course the sphere of the complex of North America also has to play that defense. And I always say with everything that I say, propositions and protocol are for the defense of the North American civilizational complex. And of course, as North Americans, myself a North American personally, this is my home, and also I believe in reincarnation, so I have that reincarnation factor. And I believe, I know because I had visions on the mountain. I was born in the USA 3 times in past life, once as a woman, twice as a man, and I served in the United States forces in 2 different wars. Just read George Patton, Through a Glass Darkly. One of my favorite poems, Through a Glass Darkly, George Patton, Through a Glass Darkly, where George Patton, star general of the Second World War general, of course. He also, if you read Through a Glass Darkly, George Patton, he also stated, of course, that he believed in reincarnation and he was always a soldier, Carthaginian, but he never mentioned, of course, he believed. But I know George Patton was born many times. George Patton was also born a woman like me, and I was actually married to George Patton when I was in the Roman legions, and he was my wife. So George Patton was my wife in a past life. I do believe that. But sometimes I was born a woman, sometimes I was born a man. And in the USA, I was born 3 times between 1776 and 1947. I was born 3 times in the USA between 1776 and 1947. Once as a woman, twice as a man, and served in 2 different wars. So I served in the United States Army in past life. So with 44 billion, if I would have 44 billion, I will give 10% this month of December. I would take 4.4 billion, which would be 4,000 million. And throughout Canada, US, I will go to give a check or half check, half cash to different people who are struggling, who are homeless, who are struggling with. This is your second chance. Clean yourself up, work out, train, exercise, rent a room, rent a place for a full year, pay the rent for a full year to this new place, work out, get off or whatever. If you have an addiction, this is your second chance. I'll give this is your second chance. With a black, white, or brown, with a black, white, or brown, black, white, say, come here, let me give you something. I'll give you the money. Say, this is your second chance. Freedom. I got freedom tattooed here. Freedom has to be insured. 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 Freedom is the new thing under the sun, Mr. Solomon. I played rainbow. I love my rainbow loving, black, white, and rainbow. And yesterday I went to buy me some wafers, and I had a little exchange with my beautiful black sisters from another mother here in North America, and 13.4%, my neighbors included, are black. And we have to work on our racism. Myself, I can work it only with action, with hugs and kisses. And they laughed, they said something to me, something loving me. With I felt love, it wasn't ill intention or anything like that. And I say, hey, I raised my hands up and say, hey, I love it black, white, and rainbow. They laughed. I said, I love it black, white, and rainbow. I said, I love it. I do love black, white, and rainbow. And they laughed. And that's it. I said, next time, whatever the conversation was. So I said I would get their back. I would defend them coast to coast. My black brothers and sisters, defense only, defense. And I always say with love, if my NATO brothers and sisters in NATO, because we have a military alliance, the North Atlantic, we have enough space here to build Blair, my citizen brother. I have protocols and initiatives, and I created my own workout training program system back in 2019, which requires no equipment, which is simple, efficient, and effective. And of course, it is designed to go with an international conflagration such as we're facing today. So I always say we have enough space to design and create training facilities where NATO member countries can come and train with us here and do my workout, do my training. And I got, of course, defensive protocols and initiatives, of course, as I am a geopolitical analyst and theorist, who's not perfect, far from it. So today, again, back to the geopolitical event which has transpired, is the fact that China has tested ICBMs. So the fact that China has tested ICBMs since 1980, they have it. So this, of course, is another show of strength. Is another show of strength, and potentially it's a warning. It's a warning to, of course, to to the leaders of the free world, to NATO member countries, to countries who they deem as interfering in their internal affairs, because they see the Republic of China, known as Taiwan, as their internal matter. Now, whatever I say about China, whatever position I take, it doesn't really matter in my analysis and my theorizing, because my initiatives and protocols are for the North American civilizational complex first and foremost, for defense, security, and service, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So as much as I can discuss and tell, at the end of the day, Xi Jinping and the PLA, People's Liberation of China, People's Liberation Army, they have their interest, and they're defending what they call the building of a socialist spiritual civilization. And we have to understand that. And if you want to have a geopolitical discussion in depth, China, you have to understand and read what's called Governance of China, which are volumes. It's the fifth one is, I think, started to come out in September now. In October they usually come volumes every so years, and since 2012, since Xi Jinping, the current chairman of China, has taken power. Xi Jinping, of course, and with their, of course, ideologues, and of course the Communist Party of China, they released several volumes known as the Governance of China. So in the Governance of China, they're explaining their Marxism, their communism, their socialism with Chinese characteristic, and generally to be summarized as what they're building is a socialist spiritual civilization, a socialist spiritual civilization, a socialist spiritual civilization, a socialist spiritual civilization. Now, for that translation, there can be some lost in translation there, because my spirituality, the sun is my pope, the sun is my pope. I believe in the goddess with the goddess as well, and I'm a mystic. I believe in reincarnations, and I always say I got the pope, which is the star, and I'm a non-sectarian Thelemite who has questions. I don't know it all, but my spirituality is pretty rock and roll. Let's eat some bacon, drink some wine, But like, right now, I cannot drink that. I don't drink much. And I cannot afford really so much bacon. And I love my cake, but that is my spirituality, rock and roll, And I want to say, if you want to do business, I'm open for business 24/7. I'm a great geopolitical analyst and theorist. I can discuss in depth China and their ideology, but from a North American perspective, because I am North American. This is my home. This is my home, and I feel that this is my family here. Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans. We make a marriage. We get married on the mountain, if you will. All my allies and armies, we can all get married on the mountain. Being rainbow 50-50, androgynous, pansexual, open marriage, and consent and hygiene, and encourage all to work out, train, exercise. But they have their interests, and they're gonna defend those interests, perhaps with arms, perhaps with weapons, perhaps with ICBMs. Now, I'm not in a position of power. I'm just a piece of dust who lost, who's financially stressed but joyous, who has survived being depressed, being suicidal. And the event which turned my life over was 7 years ago, 2017, when I crossed Canada coast to coast. And I've been on a fitness journey ever since. Lost between 80 and 93 pounds. And of course, lost between 80 and 93 pounds. And if I make a million, a billion, a trillion, gonna give half, 50% to my anonymous friend, to my anonymous friend, to my anonymous friend, to my anonymous friend, which is, of course, I already proposed. And my anonymous friend will probably propose again, and I gotta give acceptance for many things. And if I want to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, those are my interests. 3 buildings I will to build: Forgotten Goddess Temple, GODDSS, Forgotten Goddess Temple, House of the Dragon, Red, Scarlet, Crimson, a pyramid, simple, austere, severe, not too fancy, and the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community. That's my will, and for the defense, security, and security of North America, and of course NATO, because we have a military alliance. But first and foremost, my initiatives protocol are for a public-private partnership, a PPP, across the North American Civilizational Collective of yes. I believe in attaining and resolution of conflicts and world peace, but we have to channel also the aggression. We have to channel and sublimate are two key words of my philosophies. Because myself also, I have some subconscious things, but I'd rather be seeing people dancing and loving. I rather be seeing I rather be seeing people dancing and loving and sharing and being. I'm not totally selfless. I lust. I'm not totally. I don't play self-righteous. And with Asperger's, we have weird social dynamics, or weird socially. Asperger's, it's been a curse, but now it has the blessings that, of course, I am a great geopolitical analyst and theorist, and I got proof. I predicted what's happening now in a general manner back in 2019 in October. in October. I predicted it not as a prophet, but somebody who has Asperger's and who has a routine for many, many years is workout, fitness, training, exercising, geopolitical analysis, and dance, 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 and rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll. So a little bit of rock and roll for the Canadian Armed Forces, for the truckers, for the butchers, for the youth dancing with the streets in the sunlight. That's the please. Gonna see those shake those hips. What do you know up in the this? Give me some charity. And I'm swifty, swifty, swift. But I know somebody who wasn't my friend because of the money. If I make a man, gonna give him 50-50. Without any regrets. If I do up in upset, gotta crush up in the dust. Yeah, piece of dust who lusts. Hey, don't judge that rainbow black and white. I play black and white and rainbow. Gotta be if and you know. I don't play that turn the cheek. May I be avenged that sevenfold. I don't play that turn the cheek. May I be avenged that sevenfold. I don't turn the other cheek. May I be avenged that sevenfold. I don't turn the other cheek. May I be avenged that sevenfold. I don't turn the other cheek. May I be avenged that sevenfold. I'd rather be seeing that loving and that kissing, that shake, that booty, please it. For the farmers and the butchers and the truckers and the lovers. Hey, she's 66, but shakes those hips. She's 66, but shakes those hips. She's 66, but shakes those hips. Yeah, rock and roll is my obsessive interest, and I can rock and roll. That was a freestyle, by the way. You can copy, take it, make money, but give to charity, support blah blah blah, build the forgotten goddess temple, support this financially struggling artist who's got trillions of kisses, got the second home, the mountain, island of Montreal metropolis, 2.5 million people live. North Americans unite. Gonna switch to that French, because we are la belle province, and I was born here in Quebec. Actually, in the past life, I served 45 months in the SPVM in 1890, in the 1890s, early 1900s. I met Louis Cyr in a past life. I did the wrestling with Louis Cyr in 1904. That was it messed up my arm. I couldn't use it for like 7 years. Louis Cyr. I met Louis Cyr in a past life, and once I was born a woman, I was cleaning. I was cooking for the Coureur de Bois here historically. I was like in the 1744, 1770, between 1744 and 1800s. You know, I was born as a woman, as a Quebecoise, at the beginning of Upper Canada, Lower Canada. It wasn't really Quebec as it is now today, because we evolved, and all who come to join us here, we got the French language, which we're passionate about. You know, we put on the table sometimes law, sometimes finance. But my way is listen to Celine Dion and let's do the third. Bon Cop, Bad Cop. Let's do the third Bon Cop, Bad Cop. And let me do some bilingual rock and roll in Bon Cop, Bad Cop. And that's it. That's all. That's how I roll right here from Montreal, Hawk Island. You know, my Quebecer family, coast to coast, all come to join us here. This is my home in a past life and right now. And you know, personally, I do not consider myself a member of a diaspora, and I love Canada, I love Quebec and North Americans, and I wish world peace, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And I was born in many past lives, many incarnations, from ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, ancient Babylon, a man, a woman, a man, a woman, a man, a woman, sometimes a man, sometimes a woman. I was George Patton forgot to write in his Through a Glass Darkly poem that he was my wife when I wasn't high ranking, but I was in the Roman Empire during the Good Five Emperor, during the Good Five Emperors. And let me see those youth, let me see those youth, let me see those youth. Shaking up those hips, we're gonna have up in the do. For the truckers on the road, construction workers building on steel toes. Gotta be secure and healthy. Somebody gotta love them. For the firefighters, LOV. Those nurses in the daycares changing diapers. Hey, somebody cooking. And that cleaning gotta do. And that spinning gotta do. I'm an Aspie, so sometimes I'm socially useless. Now you know the secrets do. For the secrets do, but I got my strengths. Rock and roll, geopolitics, and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport. I love dancing. I can dance for hours, you know. That's my favorite sport. And rock and roll here, you know, I'm auctioning everything that you see. Well, except for this one is gonna have to be a lot because or whatever. But I'm auctioning 93% of everything that I'm wearing. Gonna give 50%, 50%, half to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money. Cause I never had any. Wasn't my friend because of the money, cause I never had any. Wasn't my friend because of the money, cause I never had any. Wasn't my friend because of the money, cause I never had any. And you know, I played that black and white and rainbow. North American, you know, let's go. Yesterday I met Ma. Family from North Dakota, here we go. North Dakota, South Dakota, and that Texas and Quebec. You know that we get upset from the prairies to the coast on east and west. From the Seattle, gotta get the bunny. Bunny on the mountain. Get some money spended. Go Wall Street, give some charity. Please, purdy. Let's go to the Super Bowl 49ers, get that play. Reduce the tickets. Cost is so expensive. I'm a centrist, gotta play with a black and white and rainbow. I'm a centrist wearing red. Do some push-ups and some hugs. Dragon Army, here we said, channel the aggression. Dragon Army, we channel the aggression. With push-ups and hugs, we channel the aggression. With push-ups and hugs. Dragon Army motto is, we channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs. Public-private partnership. The initiative, support the initiative known as the Dragon Army. Public-private partnership. North America Defense, Security, and Service. And, we gotta get some love. We gotta heal. I haven't done a lot of healing. I'm still healing every day. Survived COVID. COVID was like death, pestilence, and disease. Death, pestilence. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. I know it kind of sounds like a rock and roll metal 1980s dark, really dark, hard metal. Death, pestilence, and disease. Yeah, I know that World War III up in the freeze. I know it sounds like that, but in 2020, February, March, I was hit by COVID. I got triple vaxxed. I thought I was gonna die, and since then I live. I'm reborn since COVID. I live every day carpe diem, and I'm open about my sexuality. I'm open about that. I'm open about my scars. I have a little dick, clitoris dick. I'm androgynous, and sometimes I scratch, but now I scratch less, and less, and because somebody made me a special cream, anonymous friend, and said this is a gift from the goddess. From the goddess said this is a gift from the goddess. This is a gift from the goddess, and the goddess is so big and large that she dances with the sun. So I'm just a piece of dust in front of the goddess. I'm just a piece of dust in front of the goddess who knows secrets of the hearts and dances with the sun and is the stars and contains the whole Mother Earth. I'm just a nobody in front of the goddess. Whatever how we envision that, but nonetheless, this is a little gift for you, piece of dust, and put that on your little tiny clit, dick clit, and sometimes it's gonna grow rocket, but it's got some cost of blessing that I have to obey certain things and I have to do no harm, do no harm, and be of help, and be of servant, and be of service, and be of service, and be of service, be of service, be of service. Just ask policies. Just ask policy. That's it. That's all. Rainbow, rock and roll. Do some push-ups. Encourage all to work out, train, exercise. Cannot stress the, the importance of regular physical fitness. And when I what I love is when I go to the mall and I see, like yesterday, I saw some youth. They were dancing freely in the streets, and I said, "That's worth being armed, carrying a weapon for that defense." And I say with love and philosophy to my Bill Blair, brother citizen, brother citizen, brother citizen, Bill Blair, Minister of National Defense. We got it established across Canadian Armed Forces, and to my USA brothers and sisters, Marines, give Dragon Rainbow Dragons some push-ups, and generals gotta get them on when they say never say when I speak. Dragon Rainbow got that Asperger's, but never say when I speak. Never say when I speak. And I'm not without flaws, without vices, that I trip. In some things I'm mediocre. Not geopolitics, I'm above. So XYZ, and please establish a new protocol before you put on the armed forces. The armed forces. The youth are happy. I'm happy, man. I love the youth. I love our youth. That's worth carrying a weapon and defending right there. Youth marching in the sun and studying, learning some new things, and growing and graduating high school and going to whatever university. And I have a high school diploma. I got retrograde amnesia, so my memory kind of blacks out. I remember moving, and I remember mostly the past 7 years. And I have flashes like blackouts, and flashes of trauma, and I got a lot of scars. But here I am, man. If I see them loving, and yesterday when I went on my march, they were dancing freely and joyously. I said, that's that's worth fighting for as well. The youth and love, because it's not all about Wall Street buying and selling. Please give 10% of every million Wall Street traders gonna do today. 10% of a million is 100,000. That's 25,000 divided by 4 million divided by 4 is 25,000. 25,000 for food security. 25,000 for LGBTQ causes. 25,000 for environmental causes. 25,000 for LGBT causes, environmental causes, food security, and women's sports leagues. There you go. 4. Please, please, please. And I'm not totally selfless. I don't make pretense self-righteous, but I wish I would have billions to do that. Do that act. One act. Just give 44,718 to a vets who's struggling, somebody with addictions. This is your second chance. Rent a room for a year, go to a hotel, rent a month, get clean, start working out, get some nature, get some sunlight, get a new place, pay it for a year. we'll start working out, change your life, get a job, whatever the case may be. With 44,718, you can get a little bit of start over. You can down payment for a whole year rent, a whole year rent, a whole year rent. In some cases, you pay a whole year rent, and then you can with 44,000 to thousands of people, I will give that if I would have 44 billion. So please, Elon Musk, do that with me. All I need is a little bit of that good fast food on the way, and let's go together. November, December billionaire classes of North America, Elon Musk, and support whatever, and whatever politics we have. I'm from North America. I'm a centrist. And let's do that. I'm willing to do that even with. I'm a Kamala lover, supporter, Kamala and Joe Biden, but because I was born in the USA 3 times. But even with my, I want to say, should I say it's hard, but should I say, because at the end of the day, we gotta have North Americans back coast to coast and somebody making love in the USA. Somebody gonna make love today, right? In the USA, because it's not all about fighting. Willing to go. I don't want anything but accommodations and meals and maybe a massage, because I've been craving a massage therapy. But I'm willing to. Let's go. Let's go. Trump millionaire before the campaign. When is the vote? Let's go in October. Me and you, Trump, across Canada, North America. And you got some billions still. Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's get 10% and let's donate it to get it to the vets, to the homeless. Give a check. Say this is your second chance. You serve. This is your. I don't know how you got here, but this is your second chance. 44,718, and let's give them some cash and some checks and make sure. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to march and go, even with billionaire born silver spoon, blah blah whatever, born with a silver spoon, born with a silver spoon, whatever. We have to reconcile now. Centrist manner for the Democratic Republic of North America, the public-private partnership, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Support my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, and channel our lower selves. And I got my lower self. I got my lower self as well, but it's channeling, refining it, and you know, channeling for the greater good as well. But I am for myself, for the individual and the collective. For the individual, liberty and security, and the collective. When I go to the mountain march there in nature, for years and years and years, I've been discover parts of yourself, and you see the perfection in nature that's quite hard to describe unless you have to go. You have to go in the forest. You have to go on the mountain, and it takes nature and civilization, nature and civilization, nature and civilization, nature and civilization, nature and civilization to work together. And the dancing goddess army, of course, the dancing goddess army, of course, the dancing goddess army, the dancing goddess army, of course, the dancing goddess army, of course, to get that civilization and nature, and to get that LOV, man, LOV for the youth, for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors. Bill Blair, because I didn't finish the phrase with LOV and respect and philosophy. I say to my citizen brother, Minister of National Defense of the Canadian Armed Forces, Bill Blair, we gotta put a new protocol. Protocol is to go before you put on a uniform. Canadian Armed Forces, NATO, to go change the diapers, 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 go change the diapers in the daycare. Gotta go change the diapers in the daycare. That should be a new protocol, because Canadian Armed Forces is not the mercs, nothing. I don't want nothing to do with mercenaries. I don't want nothing to do with mercenaries, nothing to do with mercenaries. So, gotta get that NORAD, NATO, North Americans United. We gotta, I would say that as a new protocol. You want to put in uniform. It's not first and foremost for the money only, right? If you're gonna put on a uniform, you have to have an esprit de corps. You have to have an esprit de corps. You're gonna join the Canadian Armed Forces. You have to have an esprit de corps, and I'm saying that because I'm still cleaning, and cleaning never ends. But now on the 40 day journey started from September 11th till October 23rd. I'm still cleaning and auctioning everything, and I found a document that I had from a professor. I wanted to go to Kingston Military College. Kingston Military College. I actually have two, two from professors, but I don't remember high school. I have blackouts of memory. I remember mostly the past years, but retrograde amnesia doesn't affect linguistic capabilities, doesn't affect mathematical capabilities, doesn't affect these capabilities, retrograde amnesia, but it affects memories. So I have blackouts of memories. It's just blackout of like 8 years. I remember moving and started my fitness journey 7 years ago. It was 2017 September, but right before that it's there's blackouts. There's like blackouts. Well, it's raw. It's called raw retrograde. It's usually called caused by an onset of a disease, onset of beginning of an onset of a disease usually, or prolonged trauma or head trauma, concussion, whatever it is. And I have a medical something period that I got a dislocated right arm. I have a blackout. I think I got into a fight. I think I got into a fight. I got attacked. I got flashes of I was attacked. Surprise attack, kind of like a surprise attack, surprise attack, surprise attack, surprise. So I am hyper vigilant when I go out. So I'm hyper vigilant, but I only play that defense, stay farm defense, 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 like I'm defending Purdy. My party of the 49ers in the Super Bowl, like I'm defending Brady when he was 44, between 39 and 45, between 39 and 45, between 39 and almost, he was 45 last game, right? So he won like a few Super Bowls between 39 when they said he was too old when he was 37, and 7 years he won three Super Bowls with two different teams. So like I would play defense like I'm defending Brady. Anyways, parallel aside, Bill Blair, please put a new protocol. Canadian Armed Forces gotta have an esprit de corps. All armed forces of the free world, NATO. It's not first and foremost for the money. Yes, our armed forces have to be well fed, have to be financially well, have to have no financial stress, economic stress, have to be well paid. Salaries, 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 salaries. But it's not first and foremost for the money, for the salary that one joins the defense Canadian Armed Forces. That has to be understood. Or NATO member countries or United States Armed Forces, right? It's for defense, and it has to be that the protocol to change some diapers. If I would be general, the North American Army, Dragan Army, gonna hey, you wanna put on uniform? We're gonna have to go change some diapers and see who you're defending, fighting for, coast to coast, coast to coast. Who you're fighting for, and you gotta change those diapers. That would be a new protocol for Canadian Armed Forces, and before you're accorded, allowed to serve in defense. It's such matters which are of a philosophical nature, and we gotta have that esprit de corps. So esprit de corps. Now we're gonna switch to that French. But again, the geopolitical event of the week, I would say, is of course Putin and Russia. Russia and Putin, of course, and the escalation of the Middle East conflict. The three, I would say, Putin, of course, changing the nuclear deterrence policies. China testing for for the first time since 1980, more than 44 years, their intercontinental ballistic missiles, and of course the escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah, which is a military armed group in Lebanon. And of course, whatever I say about it, I know the conflicts, I know the ideologies, I know the divergences. I remain a North American, a Canadian Quebecer. So as much as I can go profound, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, pertain, whatever position, whatever support I come. I invite them all to Mount Royal, the leaders of the free world, blah blah blah, and the North Americans for the North American Great Concordium of the North American Civilizational Complex, the NORAD, NATO, and NATO member countries. Of course, Israel is not a NATO member country, and Ukraine neither, Taiwan neither. So we got 32 member countries. Sweden was the last one. I'm advocating for Mexico. I'm advocating Mexico. I'm advocating Mexico to be included in NATO, but that's one of my policies as a North American collective civilizational complex philosopher of North America. That are my statement and protocol. Not to that French. But before I go divulge into that French a little bit, because we are in La Belle Province and we love a little bit of that French language here, I want to say my gratitude again and encourage you all to work out, train, exercise, and truckers. Maintain on the truckers, firefighters, LOV to our firefighters, LOV to our butchers, LOV to our nurses, LOV to our doctors, LOV to those chopping some of those sausages on the road, Hydro-Quebec workers from the past, from the 20th century credit. Some big kisses, rock and roll, big massages, feet washing on the mountain. So if you worked on for Hydro Quebec between 1947 and 2007, let's say, during those 50 years or so, 60 years, if you worked for Hydro Quebec during 1947 and 2007, I credit you. Or 2010, whatever it can go, even 2015, if you retired between 1947 and 2015, let's say, since kind of, I think I moved here in 2016, 2017. See my raw retrograde amnesia. I have blackouts of memory. I don't recollect. By anyways, the point is that I credit some rock and roll. I'm willing to kiss, massage, feet wash, work as a Hydro Quebec who worked for Hydro Quebec building of the plants between 1947 and 2015 because I love to be grateful and have some action, and I'm curious the experiences and all that as a North American, who wills to build and to have a movie regarding to the Quebec history within the North American civilizational complex, which I'm not going to diverge into because I'm an artist, creative as well. But nonetheless, parallel to being a geopolitical analyst and theorist, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, encourage you all to work out, train, exercise to the mountain, we rock and roll. Rainbow Dragon played that black and white and rainbow, and I gotta thank you. You know, yesterday I had a good fun. They smiled and they said some loving words or even whatever. You know, I allow people to make fun of me, to laugh at me if you want, and you know, I like my BDSM switch and whatever the case may be. I enjoy some more peculiar things as a in the adult sphere. No need to spy on me. Secret services of China, Xi Jinping don't send your secret police. Putin don't send your secret police. Mossad Stasis are gone after 1989 or whatever the case may be. So no, cannot blackmail me with such matters. But of course, it is here where I have where I live and where I love and where I love to see loving and I love to volunteer, but sometimes it's embarrassing to say that sometimes I would love to volunteer, but I cannot afford public transit at the moment. But my rent's paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, and October's coming, and I got food, I got food. So I got coffee. Thank you for the coffee donation. I'm so excited. I got coffee donated. I thought I was gonna run out. I think I'm gonna run out like of coffee by tomorrow. So I just yesterday, just in time, came some coffee and got some coffee for the weekend. So, you know, gratitude, great for mental health. And I live a simple, austere, severe, 21st century Spartan lifestyle, rainbow Spartan. And I love fitness. I love dancing. Dancing is my favorite sport. I am androgynous, pansexual. Great geopolitical analyst and theorist with Asperger's. I repeat things two, three times in conversations, and I have obsessive interests, and I have echolalia sometimes, which probably I lost a lot of friends in the past 7 years. Only friends with benefits from now on. Echolalia is a symptom of Asperger's, basically an Aspie like myself might repeat word for word a phrase or a whole sentence or a paragraph that somebody said exactly word for word out loud. So you might say a whole paragraph or a whole phrase, and people with Aspies will repeat it out loud. It's called echolalia. So that could be confused, misunderstood as being as mocking maybe. So just to know is Asperger's, which is also known as high functioning autism being on the spectrum, high functioning autism. We got many Aspies like myself have great strengths. They usually are found in our obsessive interests, and mine are geopolitics 24/7. I wake up, I do my sun meditations, and I do analysis and theorizing and revision of the world, the universe of geopolitics, and I have proof for this. I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. I predicted it. What's happening now? I predicted it back in 2019. 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 You know, I predicted it back in 2019, and that's what it is. That's what it is, and I predicted it back in 2019. And Rainbow Dragon, aka General Cuckold, General Cuckold. If I ever marry, it's gonna have to be a cuckold type of marriage. Yeah. Anyways, rainbow sides to sides, workout, train, exercise, do some push-ups, take some sunlight, hug like you never hugged before, support the dream dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, and yours truly, rock and roll loving, gonna go workout, train, exercise, and consent, hygiene, workout, train, exercise, great for body, for the mind, and I dealt a lot of toxicity, a lot of trauma with myself, and I'm still dealing it every day, and you know, I know a friend who isn't my friend because of the money, because I never had any. If I make a million, a trillion, a billion, and I know somebody who deserves to be 7 times richer than Taylor Swift. I'm a Swifty as well, but Swift, we're gonna switch to that. French, because we la belle province. Let's go. Ready for French? Français. Bienvenue dans la grotte de votre dragon arc-en-ciel. On joue à l'aigle. Bienvenue dans le domaine du rock'n'roll. De chez nous, de la belle province, la montagne peint des aigles, puis les travailleurs au Québec, les pompiers, puis les aiment, et du fromage du Québec, que j'incite à voir les touristes, et qui viennent ces plaines, qui dansent alentour de l'île, entourée de la rivière. Si vous me parlez pas d'amour, du savoir-faire, de chez nous, ben, des gratte-ciels de Montréal, Canadiens qui commencent la saison. Ça rappelle de Jean Béliveau, je me souviens juste d'hier. Quand j'oublie le matin, le soleil se lève, le pape s'enlève les mains dans les airs québécois québécoises. Ensemble, on va pouvoir bouger les montagnes. Du rock'n'roll de votre dragon arc-en-ciel, j'ai l'Asperger's, mais je rock'n'roll, puis je fais de la géopolitique, puis je fais de l'entraînement physique. La danse, c'est mon sport préféré. Je suis androgène, votre androgène, gay, pansexuel, le dragon arc-en-ciel, qui aime le rouge. Je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique, puis je dois dire ma gratitude, même si aujourd'hui, ben, je suis en stress financier. Mon seul stress financier, aujourd'hui, je vis juste un stress financier. J'ai pas d'argent, je vis un stress financier en ce moment, mais je dois dire ma gratitude. J'ai payé mon loyer, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, puis j'ai du café, puis hier, je pensais que j'allais avoir pas de café jusqu'à vendredi, mais j'ai eu un don. Quelqu'un m'a fait un don de café, fait que j'aurai du café pour le mois de septembre, c'est sûr et clair, fait que j'ai de la gratitude pour ce don, puis la sécurité alimentaire commence avec les fermiers, puis je médite toujours 24/24, surtout quand je vais à la montagne, à ma deuxième maison. Le Mont-Royal, dans la forêt, il y a des éperviers qui dansent, les lapins, s'il vous plaît, s'il vous plaît, s'il vous plaît, ne laissez pas des déchets dans la forêt, mettez ça dans les recyclages car on a des travailleurs publics qui s'en occupent pour faire le ramassage. Puis bien sûr, je dois nettoyer chez nous au quotidien. C'est quand même un peu de couleur. C'est pas, je suis pas parfait, loin de là. Je joue pas au sain non plus. Tu sais. J'ai quand même des défauts, des choses, mais j'ai des forces. Puis j'ai l'Asperger's, l'autisme hautement fonctionnel. L'Asperger's, ce n'est pas une maladie mentale, c'est une condition de neurodivergence. On a des intérêts obsessifs, on a des symptômes. Puis il n'y a pas de médicaments pour faire le traitement de l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, aussi connu comme l'Asperger's. Je dois travailler puis faire la gestion de mes symptômes. Puis mes symptômes, ben, c'est l'école Elia. Ça veut dire que des aspects comme moi-même, des fois on répète à voix haute qu'est-ce qu'une personne a dit ou un paragraphe, une sentence, on va dire exactement les mêmes mots à voix haute, fait que ça peut offenser, tu sais. Puis nous, il faut nous le dire directement, puis des choses comme ça, parce qu'on a la misère avec les interactions sociales. On n'est pas tout à fait, tu sais, dans le domaine des interactions sociales, là, comme on manque des choses plus sociales, du savoir dans le domaine d'interaction sociale, mais on a des forces, puis mes forces, car mes intérêts obsessifs, la trinité de mes intérêts obsessifs, c'est la géopolitique. Puis aujourd'hui, je vais discuter des événements de la géopolitique, puis c'est mon royaume, puis mon domaine, puis ça, j'y connais tellement, bien, parce que c'est mon intérêt obsessif, fait que des années, puis des années, que c'est 24/24, je me réveille, je fais des analyses de la théorie, des révisions des événements en géopolitique, puis la géopolitique, ça englobe bien des choses comme la politique, les affaires, les conflits militaires, l'import, l'export, l'exportation, les économies, les régions, les civilisations, puis même un peu de psychologie dans les études de la géopolitique, puis des affaires de connaissances culturelles, puis des interactions culturelles. Fait que la géopolitique, c'est beaucoup de choses, ça englobe un domaine, un univers, la géopolitique, puis c'est ça mon domaine. Je peux en parler, je peux en discuter, mais il faut que je dise clairement que ça reste que je suis québécois. Québécois, canadien, nord-américain, puis un peu mystique, ben, mystique dans le fond, que moi je crois à des réincarnations, tu sais. Fait que j'étais né ici sur l'île de Montréal. Des fois, j'ai été né homme-femme, homme-femme, femme-homme. Maintenant, ben, vous avez un monsieur qui est des fois madame, mais laissez ça de côté. On va rentrer dans la géopolitique, puis l'événement du jour en géopolitique. Puis tenez compte, encore une fois, il faut que je le dise, avant que je dise ma gratitude encore une fois, que fondamentalement, mes initiatives, mes protocoles, puis mon appel pour un partenariat public-privé sont fondamentalement pour qu'est-ce que j'appelle en tant que philosophe le grand collectif de civilisation nord-américain pour l'Amérique du Nord, pour l'Amérique du Nord, pour l'Amérique du Nord. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord? Pour l'Amérique du Nord, parce que dans le fond, les Québécois et Québécoises, ici au Québec, on a fait qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique. Linguistique du français, on continue à le faire au quotidien. Puis moi, c'est par l'art, par le rock'n'roll, par la poésie, par la comédie, en tant qu'artiste philosophe, c'est par des choses comme ça. Tu sais. Puis je suis centriste, mais mon centrisme est nord-américain universel, dans le fond, que c'est mon centrisme il est relié à mes initiatives qui sont fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé à travers qu'est-ce que j'appelle le collectif nord-américain, l'Amérique du Nord. Fait fondamentalement, c'est des initiatives de partenariat public-privé. Puis même si je peux être universel puis pour la paix mondiale, fondamentalement, ça reste que je suis nord-américain. Je suis canadien, québécois, c'est chez nous. Puis je suis pour la défense, quand même seulement de côte à côte, pour le collectif de situations nord-américain, même si j'invite les chefs des corporations puis les chefs du monde qui viennent de tous les pays sur le Mont-Royal pour discuter de comment on peut atteindre la paix mondiale, puis pour l'environnement, je les invite sur l'île de Montréal, je les invite sur l'île de Montréal, je les invite, mais ça reste fondamentalement là, que ça reste que je suis d'ici du Québec, Québécois, Canadien, Nord-Américain, pour le collectif nord-américain. Mais même si je peux me prononcer d'une manière sophistiquée académique sur les événements géopolitiques, puis sur les philosophies d'un pays, tel que la République populaire de la Chine, ça reste que je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain, au fond, à la fin du jour. Fait que même si mes connaissances sont par éducation, par analyse, puis je fais des analyses en géopolitique, c'est 24 sur 24. Même des fois, quand je vais à la montagne, dans ma tête, c'est des analyses en géopolitique, c'est des révisions. Puis il faut, super important, que je mentionne que j'ai fait des analyses profondément en géopolitique. Puis en 2019, puis pour ça, j'ai la preuve, en 2019, j'ai fait des analyses tellement profondes que j'ai conclu, je suis arrivé à la conclusion, puis ça va faire 5 ans, le mois prochain, en octobre, j'avais fait la conclusion qu'on est rendu à un point où il y aura une conflagration internationale sur une troisième guerre mondiale. Parce que c'est ça mon intérêt obsessif. Puis j'avais prévu, d'une manière généralement parlant, j'ai pas prévu chaque détail par chaque détail, mais j'ai prévu la situation qui se déroule maintenant en 2019 d'une manière générale. Puis fondamentalement, pour faire un petit résumé, c'est quand j'ai conclu qu'à cause que ils n'ont pas été capables de résoudre leurs problèmes qui datent du 20e siècle. Beaucoup de pays, beaucoup de civilisations, beaucoup de régions, ils n'ont pas été capables de résoudre certains conflits qui datent du 20e siècle. Il y aura la continuité dans le 21e siècle. Puis bien de ces conflits, problèmes, ça date du 20e siècle au Moyen-Orient, en Europe, l'Ukraine, la Russie, puis un potentiel, la Taïwan, qui est connue, l'île de Taïwan, connue comme la République de la Chine. Puis la Chine, le grand pays de 1,4 milliard, la République populaire de la Chine, ce n'est pas la République de la Chine. Il y a deux Chines. La République de la Chine, qui est l'île de Taïwan, puis la République populaire de la Chine, établie par Mao Tse-tung, le leader chef socialiste communiste, qu'il a établi en octobre 1949. Mais encore une fois, même si je connais la gouvernance de la Chine, puis l'idéologie du marxisme, puis qu'est-ce qu'ils appellent le socialisme avec des caractéristiques chinois, ça reste que mon rêve, c'est que j'appelle, qui se manifeste comme le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, est fondamentalement un appel pour un partenariat public-privé pour l'Amérique du Nord, qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. Donc, ça inclut le Mexique, ça inclut le Mexique, ça inclut le Mexique, ça inclut l'Haïti, l'Amérique du Nord, l'Haïti, Cuba, Mexique, la République dominicaine, puis les îles de la Jamaïque, puis le Mexique, les États-Unis, bien sûr, c'est des pays nord-américains. On est des nord-américains. Donc on dit les Européens nord-américains. Je dis souvent je suis nord-américain, canadien, québécois. Personnellement, je me considère pas comme un membre d'une diaspora, mais je suis pour la paix mondiale universelle de cœur. Je peux l'être, mais fondamentalement, je connais l'Amérique du Nord, le Québec, le Canada, l'île de Montréal, la montagne, ma deuxième maison. Puis même si je fais des analyses profondes au quotidien, puis je souhaite la paix mondiale, ça reste que mes initiatives, mes protocoles sont pour le collectif nord-américain. Puis on est nord-américain, puis on doit travailler ensemble de côte à côte, océan à océan, dans le cadre d'une troisième guerre mondiale potentielle. Puis aujourd'hui, l'événement majeur, c'est que je vais discuter, c'est que la Chine, la République populaire de la Chine, ils ont fait un test des missiles intercontinentaux, des missiles intercontinentaux, des fusées qui ont été construits, beaucoup de ces fusées-là, ils peuvent traverser beaucoup de kilomètres, ils peuvent traverser une distance de plus que 6000 km, même à 10 500 km de distance. Ces missiles qui ont été bâtis durant la guerre froide, un événement majeur géopolitiquement parlant de la géopolitique, c'est la guerre froide qui a duré entre 1947, entre mars, février 1947 et 1991 en décembre. Ça a duré plus que 44 ans, quasiment 45 ans. Officiellement, moi je dis que 44 ans et 9 mois. Quasiment 45 ans. Entre 1947 et 1991, c'est à peu près 45 ans. Officiellement, moi je dis 44 années puis 9 mois. Quasiment 45. Quasiment 45 ans. C'est longtemps, là. C'est longtemps, c'est longtemps, c'est longtemps, c'est longtemps, c'est longtemps. Et bien sûr, c'est longtemps, c'est longtemps. Ça a duré, là. Beaucoup de temps, ça a duré, là. Puis ils ont bâti bien des fusées intercontinentales. Puis il y en a qui peuvent se rendre, supposément, les hier, c'est en théorie, pas en pratique, ils peuvent se rendre jusqu'à ici, jusqu'ici, en Russie, jusqu'ici, en Russie, à 10 500 km. 10 500 km, 10 500 km, 10 500 km. Une fusée balistique de la Russie peut se rendre jusqu'ici en théorie. En pratique, Ça n'a pas été pratiqué, mais en théorie, 10 500 km de Montréal à Moscou, c'est 8 500 km. Fait que 10 500 moins 8 500, il reste 2000 km. Fait qu'en théorie, si ils lancent la fusée de Moscou, ils peuvent se rendre jusqu'en Ontario, même jusqu'à Saskatchewan, Manitoba. Ça dépend de quel côté, là, mais si c'est le côté de l'Est, de ce qu'on appelle l'Est de la Russie, proche de l'Alaska, ça veut dire qu'ils peuvent se rendre à l'intérieur de l'Amérique du Nord. Ça peut se rendre à l'intérieur. Puis, de retour à l'événement géopolitique, qui est un événement majeur, qui prouve dans le fond qu'un potentiel, c'est possible qu'il y ait un conflit entre la République populaire de la Chine et le Taïwan, qui est connu comme la République de la Chine. C'est possible. C'est possible parce que leur conflit, encore une fois, ça date du 20e siècle, ils n'ont pas été capables de résoudre. Ici, en Amérique du Nord, qu'est-ce que je dis? On en fait toujours le grand compromis linguistique. C'est sûr, des fois, on se pousse, on critique, on donne, on remet sur la table. Bon, le grand compromis linguistique du français, c'est sûr que des fois, on a des tensions, on donne, on reçoit, on donne, mais généralement, par là, on a été capable de faire des compromis. Le bilinguisme, puis moi je dis toujours faites un effort, tu sais, apprenez un peu de français, écoutez un peu de Céline Dion, faisons la troisième version de Bon Cop Bad Cop, faisons la troisième version de Bon Cop Bad Cop, faisons la troisième version de Bon Cop Bad Cop. On fait un effort constamment. Avec mes frères et sœurs noirs, qui constituent 13,3, 13,4% de la population, mes voisins incluants, mais c'est sûr qu'il faut que moi-même, il faut que j'y travaille, parce que des fois, c'est des forces du subconscient. C'est possible que c'est des fois, on se sent inconfortable, on a du racisme, mais si je dois y travailler, c'est par des actions méchantes. Je vais offrir à mes frères et sœurs noirs, mais des gros câlins, des bisous, parce que des châteaux du rock'n'roll, l'argent, je n'ai pas, mais je vais offrir des choses. Si je peux faire de quoi, que ça leur donne plaisir, ou que j'y travaille moi-même sur mon biais subconscient, mais c'est par des actions, lavage de pieds, je sais pas, quelque chose comme ça, mais que ça soit, tu sais, de l'amour, des actions, des gestes de l'amour, des gestes sur l'amour, ou donner des finances, ou aider dans une certaine circonstance où je peux donner de l'aide, parce que des fois, des choses, je suis médiocre, comme ci, comme ça, et pas bon moi-même. Tu sais, quand je regarde les travailleurs de construction sur la grue, ben, je les salue puis je les admire, je dis, waouh, vous bâtissez les gratte-ciels, vous avez bâti des gratte-ciels, bâtissez-moi en plus de gratte-ciels, s'il vous plaît, puis je vous admire, les pompiers, les boulangers, les travailleurs de l'Hydro-Québec, l'admiration, les pompiers, les fermiers, ceux qui changent des couches dans les garderies aussi, tu sais, les travailleurs, les publics qui remplacent les aqueducs aussi, je dois avoir l'admiration, puis je dois avoir un esprit de corps, puis j'en ai un esprit de corps avec le Québec, le Canada, puis l'événement, bien sûr, qui m'a fait sortir moi-même de la dépression, je célèbre aujourd'hui 7 ans, c'est quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte. Cet événement dans ma vie, ça a complètement changé ma vie, parce que j'ai eu comme un réveil, j'ai dit, waouh, tellement de choses à faire, à voir au Québec, au Canada, que j'ai sorti de ma dépression, c'était en août et en septembre, j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, puis je me suis dit, waouh, un gros pays, tellement que Québec c'est gros le Canada, puis j'ai tellement de choses à faire, à voir, que je commençais à m'entraîner, j'ai perdu entre 80 et 93 livres, puis j'écris bien des chansons rock'n'roll, j'en compose du quotidien, puis tenez compte que d'habitude en ligne, quand je fais en mode libre, j'ai compose en mode libre, fait que tenez ça compte, je vous donne la permission de les utiliser, mais tenez-moi compte que je suis en stress financier, puis je vis un stress financier, mais je peux en faire d'autres si vous en voulez, puis je suis prêt pour les affaires, puis sur la table, je crédite des milliards de bisous crédité par l'ADS, puis je veux bâtir 3 bâtiments ici, à Montréal, l'île, la métropole de Montréal, où je suis né une couple de fois, même avant 1534. Des fois homme, des fois femme. 3 bâtiments que je veux bâtir. Le temple de la déesse, que je crédite des millions de bisous, des châteaux et des lavages de pieds pour la construction de ce bâtiment, le temple de la déesse. Oui, je crédite des lavages de pieds, des bisous, des châteaux et du rock'n'roll pour bâtir le temple de la déesse oubliée, avec la maison du dragon écarlate rouge, une pyramide simple, pas besoin de grand chose comme la maison du dragon, puis la troisième, le palais du peuple arc-en-ciel, quand je fais partie bien sûr de la communauté arc-en-ciel LGBTQ, votre dragon arc-en-ciel qui est des fois messieurs, madame, des fois messieurs, madame, des fois messieurs, madame, mais tenez compte, oubliez tout ça, messieurs, madame, la géopolitique, ça c'est mon intérêt obsessif, puis dans la géopolitique, je suis maître parce que c'est mon intérêt obsessif, puis c'est mon royaume, mon domaine, puis je dois faire encore une explication, puis je dois encore... Je dois, puis je dois bien sûr faire cette méditation et je dois bien sûr dire bien sûr la gratitude, puis je dois dire bien sûr que l'événement majeur qui montre encore une fois que la Chine se prépare pour un potentiel conflit qui va qui est prête pour lancer des fusées nucléaires, puis que leurs fusées, les missiles de fusée qui peuvent traverser intercontinentaux qu'on appelle, ils peuvent traverser une longue distance, puis ils peuvent se rendre au Canada, ils peuvent se rendre aux États-Unis, même à l'intérieur. Puis s'ils peuvent traverser 5000, 6000, 7000, 8000 kilomètres, imaginez-vous, là, ils peuvent se rendre juste, pas juste au Québec, là, pas au Québec, ils ne peuvent pas se rendre au Québec, mais ils peuvent se rendre au Canada, dans Manitoba, à Saskatchewan, dans Manitoba au Saskatchewan, puis bien sûr, en Amérique du Nord, aux États-Unis, ils peuvent se rendre jusqu'à Manitoba, ils peuvent se rendre, ils peuvent se rendre jusqu'à Manitoba. Fait que s'ils sont lancés, d'où qui sont lancés, ils peuvent se rendre sur la côte ouest nord-américaine, ils peuvent se rendre sur la côte ouest, ils peuvent traverser 5000, ces missiles des fusées qui ont fait des tests, puis ils n'ont pas fait des tests de fusées intercontinentales depuis 1980, quasiment 45 ans, plus que 44 ans qu'ils n'ont pas fait des tests. Hier, il y en a fait un. Fait que c'était dans les nouvelles, puis c'était un événement géopolitique majeur que je dois méditer aujourd'hui, puis hier, j'ai fait des méditations profondes, puis bien sûr, ça continue parallèlement, qui ont solidifié leur alliance militaire, politique, économique avec la Russie. Depuis 45 mois, depuis 3 ans et demi, on fait une solidification. C'est pour ça que nous, en Amérique du Nord, on doit faire un partenariat public-privé, puis mes initiatives pour le partenariat public-privé pour l'Amérique du Nord. Pour le collectif nord-américain, on doit solidifier de plus en plus l'Amérique du Nord. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle le collectif nord-américain, le Québec, le Canada, les États-Unis, puis bien sûr avec le Mexique aussi, ils font partie. Le Mexique, ils font partie. Puis, je suis pas parfait loin de là. J'ai des défauts moi-même, mais je dois jouer la défense. Je dois jouer la défense. Je dois jouer la défense. Seulement la défense. Seulement la défense. Puis, quand je sors, je m'en vais à la montagne, ma deuxième maison, je dois faire des compromis pour la liberté et la sécurité de l'autre individu. Je dois attention à mes gestes. Puis l'autre fois, il y a 3 personnes, mais j'appelle mes cousines, ils ont ri de moi, mais ils m'ont vu de loin, puis ils ont ri, puis je dis, ils m'ont fait salut, ils m'ont ri, puis je dis, ben, je vous donne la permission de rire. J'ai dit, ben, t'avais l'air un peu bizarre. Puis je dis, ben oui, pas de problème, vous riez de moi. Je préfère vous faire rire, puis amener de la joie et de la santé que vous voir en train de vous battre, parce que c'est pas tout se battre, puis il faut maîtriser l'agression. Super important de maîtriser l'agression. L'agression, faire l'entraînement physique, avoir une maîtrise de l'agression. Puis la sublimation, la sexualité aussi. La sexualité aussi. Moi, vous savez, pas besoin de m'espionner. Les chefs de la service secret de Xi Jinping, de la Chine, la police secrète de la Chine, pas besoin de m'espionner. La service secret de Poutine, qui traverse pas l'océan pour venir me voir, puis m'espionner, le Dragan arc-en-ciel, puis m'espionner, bien sûr, qui traverse pas le Pacifique. Le service secret de Xi Jinping de la Chine, ni de Mossad Mossad, que ce soit, mais j'aime ça, ben, dans ma vie privée, maintenant, j'ai le sadomasochisme, puis je suis androgyne pansexuel qui aime le sadomasochisme, échange, ben, maintenant, je fais des amis avec bénéfice adulte, bien sûr. Puis j'aime ça le rock'n'roll, j'aime ça le fromage, le bacon, la bonne nourriture, puis l'entraînement physique. Puis j'ai des protocoles, des initiatives que je veux mettre en établissement. Puis je fais appel à tous et toutes qui, par amour et volonté, parce que ça prend un peu d'amour aussi. Là. Un esprit de corps aussi, comme je dis, avec philosophie puis amour. Mon citoyen Bill Blair, le chef de la défense nationale, je dis toujours, ben, il faut avoir un esprit d'amour, puis c'est pas pour l'argent, bien sûr, pas pour l'argent, bien sûr, qu'on se donne qu'on se met dans les forces armées canadiennes, c'est pas juste pour l'argent qu'on donne dans les forces armées canadiennes, principalement, c'est pour la défense. C'est sûr qu'il faut avoir des bons salaires, dans les forces armées canadiennes, puis des États-Unis, puis du monde libre, mais ce n'est pas le principe principal qu'on met un uniforme pour la défense. Il faut avoir un esprit de corps, c'est pour ça que je dis comme protocole, puis avec amour et philosophie, je dis ça à mon citoyen Bill Blair, il faut qu'il aille changer des couches avant de avoir le privilège de mettre un uniforme pour la défense nationale, bien, il faut que ça soit un examen, puis aller changer des couches dans les garderies, parce qu'ils voient pour les enfants qu'on défend, puis les jeunes, puis de tous âges, puis dans les CHSLD aussi, puis durant la COVID, j'ai travaillé dans les CHSLD, j'ai aimé ça les aînés, j'ai aimé les nourrir, les donner de la nourriture, j'ai bien aimé ça quand même. Puis, je suis pas parfait, je suis pas loin de là, j'ai quand même des choses. J'ai plus de dépression, j'ai conquis la dépression peut-être suicidaire en 2017 quand j'ai traversé le Canada, mais j'ai des cicatrices, j'ai dit mon petit clitopénis, androgène, petit clitopénis, je vous donne la permission de rire de ça, puis tout ça, j'aime ça le masochisme. Bon, on oublie ça, la géopolitique, pas besoin de m'espionner, Xi Jinping ni Poutine. Je restais dans l'autre océan, l'Atlantique puis le Pacifique, qui ne venaient pas nous voir pour nous faire la guerre chez nous dans la belle province, s'il vous plaît. On va appeler Louis Cyr, on va appeler Louis Cyr sur la montagne Louis Cyr, puis le soleil le pape. Puis avec amour, les Nord-Américains, on va les inviter pour chez nous la belle province. Puis le Dragan, le bleu ciel. On va bâtir plus de centrales au Québec, puis des gratte-ciel, puis on va faire un bon nettoyage. Ça en prend du fromage, puis de l'amour. Ça en prend de la force, puis de la comédie, puis de la philosophie. On peut pas se baser tout sur la force. Puis la violence pour être armé, puis toute l'armée des forces canadiennes, c'est un gros privilège quand même pour la défense. Là. L'assurance, ben, c'est pas premièrement pour l'argent qu'on met pour la défense. T'sais. Puis moi, je dis parce que je crois, je suis mystique. Je crois, je, je crois dans des réincarnations, des réincarnations. Puis des fois, j'étais né homme-femme, j'étais servante. Quand j'ai servi les coureurs de bois, je nettoyais, je cuisinais, je faisais la cuisine, je leur levais les plaies, puisque c'est 5 services. Là, mais puis une fois, j'ai rencontré Louis C. dans une autre vie, j'étais né homme, j'ai même servi dans la SPVM en 1900 là, puis à la GRC au tout début, avant que ça soit connu comme la GRC. Puis bien des fois, j'étais né homme-femme, tout ça. Fait que, aujourd'hui, 2024, je propose mes initiatives de partenariat public-privé, la théorie de la réfusion de la dette, la théorie de la réfusion démocratique, la théorie d'intégration citoyenne. Puis aujourd'hui, l'événement que je médite, ben, c'est la Chine qui ont fait pour la première fois depuis 1980, en plus que 44 ans, ils n'ont pas fait de tests d'examen de cette fusée. Là. Ils ont lancé la fusée. Là. Ils ont fait des examens de la fusée. Mais qu'est-ce qu'ils nous montrent? Ça montre qu'ils solidifient et qu'ils se préparent pour un potentiel conflit. Ils se préparent pour un conflit au Pacifique, un conflit dans le Pacifique. Leur armée, l'armée de libération de la Chine, fondée par Mao Tse-tung. Moi, c'est pour la défense seulement. Il faut comprendre que même si je me prononce pour savoir de la Chine, je connais parce que j'ai lu, j'ai étudié Xi Jinping, la gouvernance de la Chine. Pour connaître mes philosophies, mes protocoles, mes initiatives, il faut que vous regardez un couple de mes vidéos de café avec Dragan, puis durant durant la COVID, puis j'ai créé mon propre système d'entraînement physique que je suis fier. Puis je l'ai créé parallèlement et allé avec mon analyse en géopolitique qui, fondamentalement, j'avais fait la conclusion en 2019 qu'on se dirige vers une conflagration internationale en octobre. Ça va faire 5 ans en octobre. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant, mais je l'ai prévu d'une manière, pas encore en tant que prophète, mais en tant que quelqu'un qui a l'Asperger's, puis en tant qu'Aspie, je sais ce intérêt obsessif qui est la géopolitique. J'en connais, je peux vous en parler de la géopolitique, de la gouvernance de la Chine, qui est bien sûr, c'était la gouvernance de la Chine, ça montre la philosophie, l'idéologie de la République populaire de la Chine, de Xi Jinping, puis du socialisme avec des caractéristiques chinoises, le marxisme-léninisme-maoïsme, Même si je me prononce, vous savez que je suis centriste universel révolutionnaire, mon centrisme universel révolutionnaire est fondamentalement en lien avec mes initiatives qui sont fondamentalement pour un partenariat public-privé pour ce que j'appelle le grand complexe de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. Sur l'Amérique du Nord. Mais je tiens en tant que philosophe, puis je répète, puis je le dis, parce que c'est une de mes théories thèses, que l'Amérique du Nord, on constitue un complexe de civilisation émergent. Notre civilisation n'est pas tout à fait distincte, n'est pas divorcée de l'Occident, de la civilisation occidentale, mais on a des distinctions. On a des distinctions avec l'Occident, mais on n'est pas divorcé avec l'Occident. C'est ça qu'il faut retenir du point majeur de cette philosophie qui s'appelle le grand collectif de civilisation nord-américaine, l'Amérique du Nord fondamentalement. C'est ça qu'il faut faire. Donc, il y a 1h36, il y a 1h36, il y a 1h36. Il faut faire l'implémentation de ma trinité de théorie. Je fais appel à tous et toutes de soutenir le royaume du dragon arc-en-ciel. C'est sûr que ça va prendre du travail ensemble, la gauche, la droite ou le centre. C'est un partenariat public-privé, mais aujourd'hui, je dois méditer, puis je dois dire ma gratitude, puis je dois y penser aussi. Les camionneurs, maintenant, les travailleurs publics, ceux qui sont dans les routes, là, qui conduisent les trains, les transports publics, ceux qui travaillent dans les fromageries, dans les sauces, dans les garderies, ceux qui travaillent bien sûr dans les caisses, les caissières, tout à tous les niveaux de l'Amérique du Nord. Tellement le transport public, tellement de camions. Dans les ports, les aéroports, tout maintenant, je dois méditer en tout temps. C'est sûr que je ne suis pas connaissant, mais je sais que quelqu'un va faire l'amour. Quelqu'un va avoir la gratitude. Quelqu'un va donner de la charité. J'aimerais ça avoir des milliards pour donner de la charité un peu. En mois qui s'en vient, le mois de novembre, décembre, j'aimerais ça pouvoir donner un peu de charité. Puis je suis pas totalement saint-go, je suis pas totalement altruiste, je fais pas prétence, je prétends pas être altruiste à 100%, mais j'ai la gratitude ici, puis Je me souviens avoir déménagé d'une place où il y avait beaucoup de moisissures, puis beaucoup de moisissures, je m'en souviens avoir déménagé, puis j'ai de la gratitude pour cette place-là, puis je dois toujours faire du nettoyage, je dois toujours faire du travail pour moi-même, puis avec Asperger's, des fois, il faut être direct, puis juste nous le dire, me le demander, puis il faut on a de la difficulté à se garder un emploi, j'ai eu bien des emplois que j'ai bien aimés durant la COVID, puis avant ça, puis ça fonctionne. Je suis ouvert pour les affaires, surtout pour les analyses, les théories en géopolitique. L'analyse majeure qui doit se faire aujourd'hui, c'est sur les tests de la fusée de la Chine. Pourquoi ils ont fait ce test-là? C'est pour montrer qu'ils sont prêts pour utiliser ces armes. C'est des fusées qui peuvent traverser des millions, pas de correction, des 1000 km, 3000, 4000, 5000, 6000, même qui peuvent traverser 10 000 km. C'est des fusées de longue distance, là. C'est des fusées de longue distance, fusées de longue distance. Les missiles intercontinentaux des fusées, là, ils ont fait de l'examen, ils n'ont pas fait d'examen depuis 1980, la Chine. Plus que 44 ans, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Mais c'est sûr que leur solidification, alliance militaire, politique, économique avec la Russie, ils montrent que peut-être ils vont faire une alliance possible, puis peut-être une invasion de la République de la Chine, qui est l'île de Taïwan. C'est possible, on verra qu'est-ce qui se passe. Puis, au Moyen-Orient, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe, c'est le divergence avec l'Hezbollah au Liban. Puis je connais bien sûr l'idéologie, la philosophie, l'histoire du 20e siècle de ces conflits, parce que je connais la géopolitique, mais ça reste que ça sert à rien vraiment que je prends une position pour ou contre. Fondamentalement, mes initiatives, c'est pour le collectif nord-américain. Mais si je veux, puis je les invite, les chefs, pour une résolution pacifique, pour une résolution du conflit sur le Mont-Royal. Mais fondamentalement, ça reste que je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain. Même si je suis mystique pour la paix mondiale, j'ai une spiritualité quand même rock'n'roll, ça reste que je suis en crise financière. Mais j'ai de la gratitude. J'ai ma géopolitique, mon rock'n'roll, puis bien sûr ma danse, l'entraînement physique, puis ma deuxième maison, la montagne, puis la troisième maison, l'île de Montréal, puis la quatrième dimension, l'Amérique du Nord. Pour la cinquième dimension, mais le monde pour la paix mondiale, puis la cinquième dimension. Je vous encourage tous et toutes à faire l'entraînement physique québécois québécoise. Je vous aime, puis faites de l'amour, puis ensemble on va pouvoir bouger les montagnes, puis je fais appel pour le soutien des initiatives pour qu'on ouvre justement des montagnes pour mettre de la nourriture qui peut durer 3 ans et demi, 5 ans, 7 ans et plus, 11 ans, plus que 44 ans, qu'on ouvre des montagnes comme à Cheyenne. La montagne Cheyenne, c'est où il y a l'alliance militaire, le siège social de l'alliance militaire, le NORAD, qu'on a fait avec les États-Unis. On a une alliance unique en Amérique du Nord qui a été fondée en 1958. On doit le mettre au 21e siècle pour le partenariat public-privé, l'initiative, puis qu'on construit puis bâtit des tunnels à travers l'Amérique du Nord. J'envisage 44 tunnels bâtis à travers l'Amérique du Nord, 44 tunnels bâtis à travers l'Amérique du Nord, 44 tunnels bâtis à travers l'Amérique du Nord, dans le cadre d'une guerre nucléaire, d'un financement massif de partenariat public-privé, donner à la charité, s'il vous plaît, réduisez les coûts des billets, la Ligue nationale de hockey et les autres ligues. Puis, si vous êtes millionnaire, milliardaire, donnez un peu de charité, financez les gens, qu'on finance les gens, on fait l'entraînement physique par un partenariat public-privé, ça fait du bien, ça c'est un de mon rêve, ça fait un couple d'années que j'y travaille, puis je mets des protocoles, puis des initiatives, blablabla, en ligne, puis j'ai fait une autre version, la géopolitique. Je dois finir, car je m'en vais faire l'entraînement physique, parce que depuis ce matin, c'est l'analyse, la révision de la géopolitique, c'est mon intérêt obsessif, et je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique. Let's go rock'n'roll bilingual, on va finir avec du rock'n'roll bilingue. Welcome in the Quebec! Welcome in the Quebec! Quebec! Bad province, oh, you already know. We ain't got only Celine, we got plenty of mountains, we got plenty of cheese, and we got that good beerlies, we got that good dancing, we got that good culture. We in Quebec, that fleur-de-lis, come dance and love with us, we are going coast to coast. If you're from the US, learn some French, and drink some of that Quebec wine, drink some cheese and listen May. Listen to that French songs, Céline Dion. On n'a pas juste que Céline, on a des Louis Cyr. On n'a pas juste des Céline, on a des Louis Cyr. On n'a pas juste des Céline, on a des Louis Cyr, puis de l'arc-en-ciel, des gratte-ciel, travailler le Québec, puis des pompiers, puis des pommages. On a des artistes à danse, on a de la défense, on est pour le principal. La rue principale, Saint-Adrien à Saint-Damien, puis j'aime faire le matchmaking, je les envoie à Saint-Adrien, Saint-Adrien, Saint-Adrien. Le problème, c'est qu'il y en a deux, Saint-Adrien. Lequel pour rencontrer le matchmaking. J'aime ça mettre les gens en couple. Le problème, je les envoie, mais ils oublient que c'est demain. Attendez pas demain. Faites des pompes d'entraînement, du soleil comme il faut. Puis danser, bouger des fesses, puis danser, bouger des fesses. Ah ouais, le rock'n'roll 24 sur 24. L'analyse en géopolitique 24 sur 24. L'entraînement physique, la danse 24 sur 24. C'est ça l'Asperger's, je vis avec, je vis avec. I live with Asperger's, 24/7 rock and roll sports, fitness, dancing, and geopolitics, and fourth dimension to that trinity. A fifth dimension, cinquième dimension aussi. Love and lust, l'amour puis l'arc-en-ciel. Love, 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 love. Hug like you never hugged before is the main message. Today, with consent, don't start hugging random people in the streets, you know. That's not what I said. With consent, avec consentement, donnez-vous un câlin comme jamais avant. Comme jamais avant. Avec consentement, commencez pas à donner des câlins à des gens comme ça dans la rue, inconnus, là, des étrangers. C'est pas ça que j'ai dit. That's not what I said. Don't twist my words. I'm not perfect, I'm flawed. Flawed, flawed. J'ai des fautes. Mettez pas des mots dans ma bouche. J'ai souffert, j'étais en bas. Hey, pour la défense, chez nous puis chez moi, je sais qu'il y a des bons. Pas juste du bon fromage. On a tous besoin d'une rédemption, du changement, a little bit of change and redemption. North Americans unite. Gotta put that differences aside now. It's some serious, il y a des choses sérieuses, puis we gotta love, il faut que 144, 144, 144, 144. Gotta go, love you.